Hi everyone, French Vinyl Addict on another episode. This one's a little bit special as I will be talking about the treasures I could fetch, last week from the bargain bins. As it happens, au 33 tours, so au 33 RPMs. The biggest record store we do have here in Montreal. It has been brought to my notice. I read a post on Facebook something last week that they just opened a secondary location, so a boutique clearance sale store where that is all about bargain stuff. So $2 record crate all over the place piqued of course my curiosity. So I went on Tuesday evening for the first round. I spent something like 2 hours, and I went back on Friday evening for a second round, so 3 hours digging through the crates. Nothing was sorted out, nothing was graded, so you really have to take your time. And I could find some interesting stuff. So as I said, much more different from the experience as I usually have when I go, to the local record stores. But I thought maybe that's a nice opportunity. And as I said, there will be maybe the store. I think they plan to stay there up until late March, but probably will be extending depending upon if there are more stuff's coming in, coming out, how it feels. So short introduction today, as I do have quite a few of records that I could find this bargain bins treasures. Starting off with the first one, which is a classic band from the pop baroque scene, Procol Harum, which is pretty interesting since I do have several of their later stuff. Whiter Shade of Pale was released in '67, as you know. And I have several of those later records like Grand Hotel or Salty Dog, and I didn't have a copy of this record in my collection so far, which is pretty cool. So of course, as I said, I always had to check the condition, and there were lots of Hank Williams or cheesy pop stuff from the 60s that no one wants, but sometimes there were some great rock, jazz rock fusion stuff, not always in a good condition, as you can imagine. So that's why I had to check every single record, sleeve record itself, and this one's pretty decent condition, so nothing to worry about, nothing to complain. Plays really fantastic. Just give it a spin like earlier this morning. And this is really the pop baroque stuff. Not my favorite one, as I think the iconic, still a great album, really like pop baroque, as I said, much more maybe calibrated to be mainstream in my humble opinion. I think the guy, the iconic keyboard player, had just left the band prior to this one. And one thing I can, I'm not complaining, but when I hear this kind of stuff, things must have been much more different if they had a strong guy with playing the bass guitar. Those bass lines really are not pretty predominant in my opinion, but it's still interesting. And for $2, this is truly an offer I could not refuse. Speaking of jazz fusion rock, the next one is clearly a good surprise, as I do have such stuff on my list, things I would like to discover. Folk rock is definitely the rabbit hole I'm currently delving into. Jazz fusion stuff as well. I found last year when I took a small trip in Toronto, when I met up with Brian and with Ben Rankings. I remember I found a copy of Return to Forever. It's classic album, Chick Corea, and it still has to grow on me, I guess. This one, I'm really, as I said, I'm really happy. So the cover is really not in good condition, but the record itself plays great. And Canadian press release, OJ, whatever. And truly a brilliant surprise, as I say. Here I don't have to complain about the crazy bass lines, which are really pretty funky. And it's like nothing is over complex, over completed, and it works really well. Full of energy. This is the typical jazz rock, funky, I would almost say, fusion that I really do like. So I'm expecting to find more of those Mahavishnu orchestra in the future. And these guys, Bill Cobham, I know often get mentioned on the VC for his later stuffs. Jan Hammer, as you know, we grew up listening to the Crockett's team, from Miami Vice. So this is how I'm gonna know a little bit of Jan Hammer work. Mahavishnu Orchestra. The next one, or the next 3, 4, whatever, are something French. So yeah, you probably don't know much about, but I was lucky to find a couple of weeks before, I think mid-January something, several of his albums, and this is Catherine Lara, a French singer-songwriter, classically trained. She obtained a second prize in playing violin, fiddle at the Conservatoire, had her own band, so like chamber orchestra, and she was a little bit fed up because there were no this kind of connection with the audience. And so she decided to go to do something a little bit different, starting with this one. This is her debut album, 1972, with her classic, as I say, classical experience, brings something really interesting to the table. Prague, as I say, symphonic, and there are such crazy moments. For instance, this song called Morituri. She sings in Latin, I think, and yeah, it's Carry Me Away, definitely. Debut album, as I say, from Catherine Lara, and she teamed up with some guy. So she composed the music. There was this guy called Daniel Boublil, who wrote the lyrics, and they were like a team of people. They were doing several of albums at the early stage. She's much more known for her stuff she made in the early 80s in France. She was like doing more like sort of AOR rock stuff. This is nothing to do with that. And as I say, I could fetch a couple of more of Catherine Lara. This one, where she explores a little bit more folk. Still interesting orchestration with piano or with fiddle. She plays fiddle, as I said. She had a massive success. She did have some success with La Craie dans l'Encrier, very nostalgic songs where she reminds herself about the school, when she was kid. And so this is a third album, 74 something, and I found more Catherine Lara. So this one also like classical, pop classical, more simplistic, more minimalistic. Not lots of orchestration. This one as well. So for $2, and they plays fantastic, really good condition. Now we are back to the UK with an album, Piqued My Curiosity. I remember about this cover. I don't know, somebody maybe must have mentioned on the VC. I don't know when or what or whatever. And this guy, John Baldry, Rod Stewart, Elton John. So yeah, it's blues, really blues, early 70s stuff. The side 2 reminds me a bit of Bob Seger. Early, not early Bob Seger, but mid 70s Bob Seger stuff. As I say, we could also relate to G.G. Cale. I read that I just had some conversation with some VC friend. But yeah, to my ears, it's like more like Bob Seger stuff. This blues, this rock blues, early 70s. Records play really well. Canadian Press, 1971, John Baldry. Next one is a guilty pleasure section of mine. This is What. This is Captain Sensible. Yeah, the 12-inch single. Just watch the video clip. It's really like the bass line, by the way, which is really it's a pop song. They had a massive success, and I discovered this song many years later. I was born in '86. This song came out in 82. I discovered this song just for the French people. You may remember when the soccer national team won. You know, every player, you know, they had to participate in a commercial, publicité, we say in French. And one of the guy played back in days in England, Marcel Desailly. He was like very known because he always carried like several cell phones with him around. So he had to play. He was hired, you know, on a commercial for SFR, you know, one of the second operator in France. So and they used this song for this commercial. So this is how I just this baseline stuck in my mind. Captain Sensible Watt, just for the record. Back in Quebec for the next up. This is Aquarelle sous un arbre. And yeah, we are talking about progressive music with some classically trained people, lots of fiddle, lots of wind instrument, violin, as I said, flutes, like very pastoral. As I said, a little bit in the. It reminds me a little bit of Manège, yeah, the prog band Manège. Inspired maybe by the work of Johann Sebastian Bach, you know, which I'll come to in a minute. So yeah, for $2, as I said, I couldn't say no. Then next one, a compilation. This is La Lambada, you know, very famous, was a massive hit thing all over the globe, but in France in '89. And it's interesting. That's the guy, one of the guy behind. It's the guy who founded the actual BYG label. You know, he had some issues. Then he went to New York, starting several other projects with Bill Laswell, and he was offered to invest in the La Lambada, and this is how, you know, we make money again. So just for the record, but of course this is a compilation, you know, lots of stuff, but it's Brazilian pop stuff, mainstream, you know, so always nice. Next one is an upgrade. I already have a copy in my collection, Concerto Saint-Preux, and I think all the prog nerds, just like myself, were crazy about that song, you know, Concerto pour une voix, with that beautiful voice. And I think it suffers from that reputation that's it's sort of you know, second class classic stuff for prog nerds. Maybe I often have. This is my perception. Correct me if I'm wrong. And but I'm not really a bit objective because it's a song I listened to this song when I was a kid. My mother used to play that on the piano. So I'm not really objective. So every time I heard that, you know, envolée lyrique, as we could say in French, lyrical, you know, flying above Clyde 9 something, reminds me about of this period of time. We're staying in France for a while, in Bretagne, giving a shout out to all the guys from Brittany, yeah, Malicorne. As you know, or as you probably know, the leader, Gabriel Yacoub, recently, sadly, passed away. This is their second album. You can find it all over, yeah, pretty much everywhere. I remember when I was in Germany last year, there was this record show in Karlsruhe. But yeah, there were some French sellers, so no surprise. But even here, you can they release in Canada, you know, Gamma. You always see this label Gamma, which are typically the French stuff, French artists from France released over here on the local labels back then. So Malicorne, folk music with some Celtic influence, Brittany, of course, using lots of old instruments. Yeah, truly, yeah, like. Reminds me a bit of, yeah, of course, of Alan Stivell. You can all find pretty much everywhere, but it's still interesting. And for $2, so it's another offer I couldn't refuse. Still in folk territory, I would say. This is Catherine Le Forestier, and she's not from Quebec. Lots of people call Le Forestier, Le something, you know, here in Quebec. No, she's from France. Her brother is well known, called Maxime, and she participated in one of his last project. This is her effort she made back then, so really folk, hippie. The way she sings reminds me a bit of Barbara, the French singer-songwriter, the French singer, iconic Barbara, and a bit of Anne Sylvestre as well. And I don't have the equivalent in the English-speaking part of the world. I'm sorry about that. Probably Joan Baez, a little bit, you know, not trying to be like over powerful, you know, with her voice. As I said, really a zeitgeist album, early '72. You know, this. She and her brother, they were together in San Francisco. You know, and her brother made a song called San Francisco because they spent I think a couple of weeks in the, you know, in 68, 67 something. You know, they wanted to live the hippie dream, you know, on the West Coast. So and then she I think she had took several trips to India, to Kathmandu after that, and so she brings also to the table something very, very special. So it's a nice evolution, I think. Very underrated record. As I say, you know, you have these roots with Barbara, with Anne Sylvestre, which is probably contemporary because Anne Sylvestre was like singing, performing at the same time, which brings something really interesting to the table. And now finishing with with some classic stuff from the classical music. And it's interesting since, you know, classical music is something we barely talk about, you know, in the VC. For some reason, I don't know why, you know, even though as a prog nerd myself, I know that there are some work, like for instance, Dvorak, Ninth Symphony for a New World, and the other one from Stravinsky, The Rite of the Spring, are massive source of inspiration. When you read the biography of Robert Fripp, you know, those are the stuff they were really massively into when they started their project. And it's a pity that we don't give too much credit. And I think the reason when we saw this record being sold for $2, you know, how can we gauge? How can we say it? It's a great value music, because, you know, when you pay something $2, you are not expecting something like wow, you know. In my mind, you know, when you pay something like 20, 40, 50 bucks. But it's stupid. It may sound stupid. I don't want to offend anyone, of course. But yeah, I was lucky. I could find some great, and I think great stuff, since, you know, they were OG copies. DG, Deutsche Grammophon, you know, very iconic label, you know, classical music. And I grew up with listening to Beethoven, for instance. So this is, and some of the batch I'm about to talk are OG copies from Germany. So crazy, really crazy. So yeah, the Eighth Symphony, as I said, my favorite, probably the second movement of the Seventh Symphony. No question about that. So brilliant, so powerful. So it's a pleasure to rediscover such stuffs. This one, and I do have a soft spot for the story about this one, since, you know, I'm crazy about, you know, progressive music such as you know, Sherazade and other stories. You know, the classic album 75 from Renaissance. This has served as a source of inspiration. So this is the original Rimsky-Korsakov album. And you know, it's crazy, since as I say, I pay $2. So every records I pay $2 Canadian. I was a little bit curious about the label, and I made some research. And as it happens, it is now the record I do have in my collection with the earliest release date. Yeah, this is a Canadian press from 1956. So 1956, how about that? I think my father wasn't even born in 56. I have to ask him the question. Yes, sir. Very old, plays fantastic, good condition, mono. Yeah, and I'm not really a fan of operetta, light opera. My grandparents, they used to love this operetta, you know, Luis Mariano and stuff from France, and I'm not really like that at all. But yeah, this kind of stuff really really interesting. And finishing off, as I said, with some classic from classics. You know, we have Johann Sebastian Bach, or Bach. We say Bach in French. In France, they say Bach in German. Don't even know how to pronounce Bach in English. But yeah, it's, as I said, Brandenburg Concerto. Several, I do have several of those. And yeah, as I said, you know, when I hear some pastoral, you know, hippies, proggy stuff, classically with classics, so for inspiration, I can only relate to this guy. Such a great stuff, you know. And I think that Jack Bruce, you know, iconic bass player from Cream, once said that you, as a bass player, you have to learn the bass lines from it was written by this guy. So much important, so much exhaustive. So Bach. And yeah, with yeah, finally this one as well. This is also a classic of Carmina Burana, and really, as I said, there was some. It's incredible. So that's an OG pressing from 1969, a German pressing. DG plays well. So yeah, I think we don't give enough attention to the beauty, you know. We are constantly on the lookout for new stuff, for new vibes, you know. But you know, everything, lots of stuffs I've already been done, and it's only like very accessible. It's like next door. We don't even have to freak our mind out, you know. This is my opinion. So these are classic music. And now I'm about, or I lost my my entire subscribers, but it's fine. Hope you guys are okay. Thanks for watching. Hope you like it. Thanks. Hope you like it. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next chapter. Bye bye.